Fred Rogers was the kind of person who made everyone's life better. On Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, he taught children life lessons that reinforced how special and important they were. No matter how dark life seemed, Rogers was a constant, comforting light who went out of his way to make the world less scary. Even after his death in February 2003, he continues to fascinate and inspire folks of all ages. But what more is there to learn about this remarkable man? Here are a few intriguing facts we've discovered about Mr. Rogers since his passing. What Rogers' family revealed. Many who admired Mr. Rogers only knew him through his television show, but a fortunate few experienced him as a beloved family member, witnessing both his joys and his frustrations. The 2018 documentary, Won't You Be My Neighbor, offered a rare glimpse into these personal perspectives. In an interview with Today, Rogers' widow Joanne fondly recounted how Fred proposed to her, with a heartfelt letter, a gesture that echoed his gentle and thoughtful nature long before his iconic show came into being. Together, Fred and Joanne raised two sons, James and John. In the documentary, James shared a revealing detail about his father's unique way of expressing anger. Instead of raising his voice or resorting to traditional discipline, Fred would channel his emotions through the grumpy puppet Lady Elaine Fairchild. Interestingly, Rogers used his puppets not just for entertainment, but also to express different aspects of his own personality. According to RogerEbert.com, King Friday the 13th symbolized his desire for control, while Daniel Striped Tiger, described by Joanne as the embodiment of the real Fred, reflected his gentle and insecure side. Throughout his life, Rogers struggled with profound self-doubt, a battle that extended even to his final days. Some speculate, based on personal letters, that he may have battled depression. So when Daniel Striped Tiger sang poignant lines like, "Sometimes I wonder if I'm a mistake" on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, it carried a deeply personal resonance beyond mere puppetry. Mr. Rogers' final message to his fans. One of life's most heartbreaking moments is bidding a final farewell, knowing it's forever. Months before succumbing to stomach cancer, Mr. Rogers recorded a poignant message for the adults who grew up watching him, marking his last recording at the WQED studios, where Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood was filmed. Though he never directly said goodbye, the weight of finality hung in the air. In his message, Rogers expressed pride in his viewers and offered words of reassurance. "I know how tough it is some days to look with confidence on the months and days ahead," he empathized. "But I would like to tell you what I often told you when you were much younger. I like you just the way you are." He went on to thank his adult fans for nurturing the children in their lives, creating safe spaces for them to grow and express themselves freely. The clip concluded with Rogers exemplifying his lifelong mission, making others feel valued. "It's such a good feeling to know that we are lifelong friends." His final goodbyes came from his deathbed, where he spoke tenderly to his longtime friend, Pastor Bill Barker, whispering, "I love you." Barker noted that Rogers' love extended not just to him, but to everyone. He wouldn't want to be seen as a saint. Mr. Rogers' impact on people's lives is nothing short of extraordinary. There are countless heartwarming stories that attest to his profound influence. For instance, one father shared how his son, who had severe autism, spoke his first words, "X the owl," inspired by Rogers' show. This moment marked a breakthrough, as the child later engaged more with his family and even learned to read and speak. Rogers' program also empowered a child abuse victim to call a hotline for help, leading to their adoption by the hotline operator. Actress Lauren Tuis credited an episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood for helping her overcome her cocaine addiction. Given Rogers' remarkable impact and unwavering kindness, it's no wonder that some view him almost as a saint. Jonathan Merritt once wrote that if Protestants had saints, Mr. Rogers might already be canonized. However, Rogers' widow, Joanne, revealed that Fred wouldn't have welcomed such reverence. According to director Morgan Neville, Joanne expressed that Fred's mission was to convey that everyone faces struggles and to resist being placed on a pedestal. Despite his saintly image to many, Fred Rogers wanted to be seen as a person grappling with life's challenges, just like everyone else. Like a puppet show for a coma patient. Being hospitalized with a serious illness can be an incredibly daunting and lonely experience. Imagine the sterile environment, the constant beeping of machines, and the uncertainty that comes with facing risky procedures. For Beth Usher, battling Rasmussen's encephalitis, a rare and debilitating disease that caused up to 100 seizures daily and led to surgery to remove half of her brain, was a daily struggle from a young age. During her ordeal, Beth found solace in watching Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, a comforting presence amidst her pain. Her mother reached out to Fred Rogers' assistant, hoping for an autographed photo, but instead, Beth received an unexpected call from Rogers himself. For an hour, he listened to Beth's fears and shared stories about her favorite puppets from his show. After her surgery, Beth slipped into a coma for weeks. Fred Rogers, not just a TV personality but also an ordained minister, provided support beyond expectation. He prayed with Beth's mother over the phone and even traveled from Pittsburgh to Baltimore to visit Beth in person. With her favorite puppets in tow, Rogers brought a piece of his neighborhood to Beth's hospital room, making her feel special and cherished during a challenging time. Their bond endured for a lifetime, a testament to the profound impact of kindness and compassion in the face of adversity. The long-lost Cold War episodes. In November 1983, Fred Rogers tackled a sensitive topic that led to episodes of his show being pulled from circulation and future releases, as reported by the Daily Beast. Known as the Conflict series, these episodes were a 5-part allegory addressing Cold War arms proliferation. Recently, in March 2017, 2 full episodes from this series resurfaced on YouTube after 33 years, allowing the public to view them once again. Set in the neighborhood of make-believe, the Conflict series unfolds with King Friday's misguided attempt to accumulate 1 million bomb parts out of fear that a local factory owner named Corny is constructing a bomb for a neighboring town. This paranoia prompts King Friday to urge all residents to prepare for war, with children participating in drills wearing gas masks. Ultimately, the crisis is averted when it's revealed that Corny was innocently building a bridge, not a weapon. The reasons for the episode's prolonged absence remain unclear, but their reemergence coincided with a Trump administration budget proposal in 2017 that sought to eliminate federal funding for public broadcasting while significantly increasing military spending. Although the clips were quickly removed from YouTube, their reappearance serves as a reminder of how timely Mr. Rogers' messages remain, resonating even in today's socio-political climate. He asked Officer Clemens to stay in the closet. In 1968, Fred Rogers made a groundbreaking decision by inviting Francois Clemens, a black man who grew up in challenging circumstances, to play the role of the neighborhood policeman on his show, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. This choice was deeply symbolic during the Civil Rights Movement, challenging stereotypes by portraying a black man as a friendly authority figure. For Clemens, who had grown up viewing police with apprehension, it was a transformative opportunity. However, Clemens faced another layer of complexity in his relationship with Rogers. He was gay, a reality he had to navigate discreetly during an era marked by severe prejudice and conversion therapy practices. Rogers, concerned about potential backlash from conservative viewers, asked Clemens to keep his sexual orientation private after learning about it a few months into his role. Despite this request, Clemens maintained a profound admiration for Rogers, whom he described as a surrogate father who treated him like a son. Their bond deepened during difficult times. When Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, Rogers personally went to Clemens' home to ensure his safety, leaving a lasting impression of care and protection. Over time, Rogers' perspectives evolved, leading him to actively seek openly gay individuals as guests on his show, reflecting his commitment to inclusivity and acceptance. His sweaters and sneakers served multiple purposes. The opening sequence of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood is a cherished childhood memory for many. The sight of Fred Rogers stepping through that front door still evokes a warm sense of familiarity and joy. Every young viewer knew the routine. He would hang up his jacket, don a cozy sweater, and trade his loafers for sneakers, all the while singing about his anticipation of spending time with his audience. It was a beautifully ordinary ritual, imbued with deep meaning. As fans of the show may know, Rogers' mother personally knitted his sweaters as a loving gesture. After her passing, the show's crew continued the tradition by acquiring similar sweaters and dyeing them to maintain the heartfelt connection. These garments held more than sentimental value. In 2014, the Fred Rogers Company noted that their predictability provided children with a comforting sense of security. Rogers, known for his thoughtfulness, structured his routine around what children might expect at home. Originally airing in the late afternoon, around the time parents returned from work, Mr. Rogers' switch from jacket to sweater symbolized the end of the workday. Likewise, changing into sneakers signaled a shift to a more relaxed atmosphere. The sneakers also allowed Rogers to quietly move between sets, seamlessly transitioning to the neighborhood of make-believe. Everything he did was designed to create a welcoming and reassuring environment for children tuning in. The carefully crafted simplicity of his show, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, despite being aimed at young children, operated on a foundation of sophisticated reasoning. Fred Rogers collaborated with child psychologists when crafting the show's scripts, drawing significant influence from Margaret McFarland, a prominent child expert with whom he studied in the 1950s. According to Nature, both Rogers and McFarland were adept at employing gentle persuasion in their approach. McFarland's emphasis on empathy and storytelling profoundly shaped the ethos of Rogers' program. Understanding the literal way children interpret language, Rogers meticulously crafted scripts to avoid any ambiguity. Maxwell King, in a 2018 piece for The Atlantic, highlighted Rogers' attention to detail. Former producer Arthur Greenwald noted that every element of the show was deliberate and carefully planned. If a script called for Rogers to mention blowing up a balloon, he would revise it to say puffing up to prevent any misconceptions. This precision in communication led to the creation of Fredish, a term coined by the show's writers to describe Rogers's specific rules for speaking to children. Consistency was another hallmark of Rogers' approach. Maura Judkis, writing for the Washington Post and drawing on her family's relationship with Rogers, recounted an instance where he flawlessly delivered dialogue but insisted on reshooting because the trolley moved in the wrong direction. Rogers wanted to maintain the logical flow that children would expect. Despite his meticulousness, he also valued authenticity and occasionally left in mistakes to demonstrate to children that even adults make errors. The heartwarming photo of Tommy Paul Hamas. Mr. Rogers embodied comfort and solace, a figure people turned to in moments of sorrow. In the wake of the tragic 2012 school shooting in Newtown, Connecticut, where 20 young children and 6 educators lost their lives, the internet found solace in a touching image. It depicted a young child joyfully holding a photograph of Fred Rogers, his smiling face cradled in tiny hands. Accompanying the image was a poignant quote from Mr. Rogers, reassuringly advising, "Look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping." The viral photo resonated deeply with many, including Maura Judkis, whose father had captured the moment while working as Rogers' photographer. In 2013, Judkis shared the heartfelt backstory of the little boy in the photo. His name was Tommy Paul Hamas, and he suffered from hydroencephalitis, a condition causing fluid buildup around the brain. Initially unwanted by his birth mother, Tommy spent his early years in a facility for disabled children before being adopted. The snapshot was taken during Rogers' visit to the facility, where Tommy, a devoted fan, eagerly greeted him. Judkis's father described the image as capturing pure attraction, love. It's like he's seeing God, touching God. The encounter epitomized Rogers' ability to connect with and bring joy to children facing adversity, forever leaving an indelible mark on those he touched. Mr. Rogers amused his wife by farting. Millions of children may have imagined chatting with Mr. Rogers, but few would have imagined scenarios in which he'd let out a toot. His widow, Joanne, shared in a 2019 interview that if they ever found themselves at a dull event, Fred would liven things up by discreetly raising one cheek and sharing a knowing smile with her. For Fred Rogers, passing gas wasn't about passive aggression. It was a playful way to bring humor into everyday moments with his wife. Joanne fondly recalled how he used his natural antics to amuse her, often accompanied by laughter. While he was known to express frustration at home in the voice of Lady Elaine, Joanne described Fred as having the gentle heart of Daniel's striped tiger. It's quite delightful to imagine him using Daniel's voice to announce his unexpected wind-breaking moments. He didn't shy away from the dark stuff. Fred Rogers believed that addressing everyday pain was more challenging than depicting darkness in zombie movies or violent shows. Despite his young audience's limited understanding, he felt it crucial to equip them early with tools to navigate life's toughest moments. His show covered a broad spectrum of topics, many of which adults struggled to confront. In an episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, for instance, when the prince goes missing due to his parents' constant fighting, Rogers tackled the issue directly. Over several days, the storyline unfolded as characters searched for the prince, addressing real-life reasons rather than resorting to fantastical explanations like evil dragons. By facing such issues head-on, Rogers taught children to cope with difficult emotions, fear, shame, anger, and to be open, brave, and resilient in owning their feelings. He understood that while children might be innocent, they needed to grasp real-world challenges. Rogers aimed to impart skills that could last a lifetime, emphasizing the importance of facing reality with courage and honesty. Beyond the cozy sweaters and fish feeding, he instilled lessons that resonated deeply with his audience. What did Fred Rogers know about the assassination of RFK? Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood is often overshadowed by South Park's quick turnaround hot takes. However, just 2 days after Robert F. Kennedy's assassination, the show aired a segment that unexpectedly paused a balloon tutorial with Daniel Tiger asking Lady Aberlin, "What does assassination mean?" Her appropriately troubled response reflects the seriousness of the topic. Lady Aberlin explains it as somebody getting killed in a sort of surprise way. The show then delves into a discussion about the event, with Daniel wisely choosing to avoid picnicking on a grassy knoll and instead opting to stay indoors. Whether it was an incredible feat of TV production and child psychology or someone giving Fred Rogers a heads up remains a mystery. I went into television because I hated it. Mr. Rogers might not have minded being called a bit of a dork. He didn't grow up watching TV and actually disliked it until his senior year of college when his parents got one. Yet he saw television's potential to reach and nurture people. I went into television because I hated it so, and I thought there's some way of using this fabulous instrument to nurture those who would watch and listen, he once said. In his early career, he worked behind the scenes as a producer and developer, content to stay off camera. His big break came when the head of children's programming at the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation saw him interacting with kids and suggested putting him on air. This led to his 15-minute show, Mr. Rogers, which laid the groundwork for what would come next. Wanting to return to Pittsburgh, he bought the rights to his show and name, then took a leap of faith, pitching it around until WQED Studios in Pittsburgh picked it up. Starting with little more than determination and his vision, Mr. Rogers began what would become a beloved and enduring legacy. He was a mother-loving son of a so-and-so. Fred Rogers embodied virtue in profound yet subtle ways. A deeply religious man, he believed in imparting moral lessons without overt religious preaching. On his iconic TV show, he demonstrated his values through actions like washing the feet of his gay black mailman during the turbulent late 1960s. He also made a point of narrating simple acts, such as feeding his fish, and responding directly to a deaf child's concerns. After his father's death, Rogers adopted a pescatarian diet and later became a committed vegetarian. His interest in sustainable consumption stemmed from personal health concerns and ethical considerations, as he co-owned the Vegetarian Times and famously quipped, "I couldn't eat anything that had a mother." His life and choices exemplified a quiet commitment to living out his values, making an enduring impact both on and off the screen. Fred Rogers' legacy extends far beyond his television show. He navigated life with a quiet resolve to uplift and educate, using his platform to teach kindness, empathy, and inclusivity. As we reflect on his life and the impact he continues to have, what aspects of Mr. Rogers' legacy inspire you the most? Share your thoughts below and stay tuned for more content exploring the enduring influence of this beloved figure. Don't forget to like and subscribe for updates on Mr. Rogers' lasting legacy and more insightful stories.